What's up, Saints fans? Hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. I'm finally back from Cancun with my family. Had a wonderful family vacation, some much-needed time off. If I look a little red, kind of like the Kool-Aid man, you know, SPF 50 can only do so much in Mexico. But I feel like I got this nice little bronze color working. We're going to let it pan out, put on a bunch of aloe over the next couple days, and, by Monday I should be looking real good. But shout out to my parents and my little brother for a phenomenal trip this past week. But while I was out of town, we got into the lab and into the studio before I even left to get some content out, and it was a little different than what we typically do here at Chat Sports. I wanted to put out some content about individual players and what to expect out of them. Brian Brzee, is he a boomer bust kind of guy? There's been a lot of buzz around that recently. We also talked about Alontae Taylor. Could he be a big breakout guy? I explained my thoughts there. ESPN and all sorts of other analysts were saying, and I want to give my take on it too. And then Chris Olave, maybe one of the most electrifying players on the Saints roster. I think he's poised to have a very big year too. So I wanted to give a Chris Olave profile and some expectations for year two for number 12. And then Demario Davis. This one was a very fun video for me to make because I was a huge fan of Demario Davis. I've been a huge fan of Demario Davis. And NFL insiders are finally showing him some love and giving him the love that he deserves. So I just wanted to react to that, give some of my own thoughts and stuff. So it was kind of different than normal, but I want you guys to give us some feedback. Did you like the content? Did you think it was a little bad? Did you guys want something different? Just let me know what your thoughts were in the comment section because we're always trying to evolve this channel to become the best it possibly can be. But as for what we're getting into on today's show, we're going to talk some injury news, some roster news, and I'm going to explain why or why not I think that we should be worried as Saints fans. And we're also going to dive into the latest around Chris Olave and Derek Carr because number 12, he showed up on the Richard Sherman podcast and was able to talk about Derek Carr, which I was very intrigued by. So before we get into that, without further ado, hit that thumbs up icon, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and stay active in the comment section because we like to have fun around here. Without further ado, let's break it down. All right, so for the third consecutive week, it's kind of become a new little off-season thing. I'm kind of a big fan of it. We're going to keep it going through the regular season if you guys like it. It's Freaky Friday. So we're going to start off today's show with some roster news, some injury updates, some good, some bad, some ugly. So you guys need to get informed. This all kind of happened while I was out of town. Going to keep it real with y'all. I had intentions of doing the video to break down this injury updates and all this kind of stuff, but all-inclusive resort in Mexico, quite a few tequila sunrises later, felt like it was probably a bad idea. So we're doing it now. So let's get into it. Kendre Miller, he was placed on the non-football injury list, otherwise known as the NFI list. Now, he was the third-round pick for New Orleans in this year's draft, and he missed the national championship with the TCU Horned Frogs due to a meniscus injury. Now, Kendre Miller, he should be back soon and was kept out of minicamp while he was recovering, but the Saints staff knew what was going on there. They intentionally didn't have him doing too much at OTAs and at rookie minicamp, and that's because they want him to recover. He doesn't have a ton of pressure on him. Why risk injury now when you don't really need him to be going and doing unnecessary reps? Because the numbers when he performs or when he's healthy the numbers are outstanding, and I think that Kendre Miller is a guy that the Saints have a lot of value in. So don't rush him. Just let him get hurt or let him get healthy, and I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. Another guy, A.T. Perry, another draft pick. The Saints traded up in the 6th round to go get him, traded away Adam Troutman, the Demon Deacon wide receiver. He fell. Might have been the draft steal of the year in my personal opinion, but weirdly enough, full participation at minicamp. So the injury is unclear as to what happened or how it happened, and that's just kind of what I'm seeing around in the Twitter sphere and in the my sources and the people that I've been talking to. But the 6th round pick, he does add size and some pop to a wide receiver room that otherwise isn't that strong with contested catches or jump balls, but at 6'5", 205 pounds, A.T. Perry can go and do that. He did it all throughout his time at Wake Forest. And at 81 receptions, almost 1,100 yards, and 11 touchdowns, the numbers speak for themselves. So another player thrown to the NFI list, South Carolina State wide receiver Shaq Davis. Just like Perry, he was a full participant at minicamp. He signed as a UDFA after the 2023 NFL draft, and he was a priority signing for the New Orleans. So I think that it's important for him to get healthy and get back on track. He does have an uphill battle to make this 53-man roster. When you're in a wide receiver group with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brian Edwards, Traquan Smith, James Washington, just to name a few of them, you're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle as a UDFA, especially when you're hurt. So I want to see Shaq Davis get healthy because he has very strong hands. He's very competitive, has a pretty good route running. He has vision, if you will, and he's very good at working in space, run catch ability. He's a threat downfield, and he can go up and climb the ladder to catch those jump balls. So guys, before we get into some more injury updates, I encourage you to subscribe for some injury updates, team news, all sorts of coverage around your New Orleans Saints. Even when I was out of the country, we were still bringing you coverage. So please feel free to subscribe. It helps us out greatly. It's not just for us. It helps us here at Chat Sports get more time for Saints content. The bosses, it's by a tier system. It's like, the totem pole, if you will. Saints, we're not at the bottom, but we're definitely not at the top. We got to get some more subs so we can climb that ladder and get more studio time. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so that way you never miss a video. All right, so let's get to the PUP list, otherwise known as the physically unable to perform list. So Nick Salvideri, he was a 4th-round pick that the Saints traded up on day 3 to go and get. Actually, he was the first pick in day 3 because the Saints traded up before the draft even got underway, or the day 3 got underway, so they could go and get the Old Dominion offensive lineman. I mean, this guy isn't just a tackle. He can do it all. And he did sustain a lower leg injury at minicamp, and he's currently wearing a protective walking boot. However, a lot of what I've been seeing and what I've been hearing is saying that he should probably be out of that sooner rather than later. We don't expect it to be a long, lingering injury over the next few weeks and over the next few months. But he should be able to participate soon. And the PFF numbers are pretty damn impressive. He had a 72.2 overall PFF grade, 61.5 run block grade, 85.1 pass blocking grade. Now, this is a guy who can push players like Andrews Pete, Calvin Throckmorton, and some of those other guys to really step it up, or you're at risk of losing your roster spot or, getting beat out by a younger guy. Nick Salvideri, if he can stay healthy, I think that he's a player that can be very beneficial on the Saints offensive line. So I really hope that he can figure things out, or not figure things out, but I hope that he can get healthy, if you will. So let's get to Anthony Johnson, a UDFA from Virginia. He did not participate at OTAs and at minicamp, and it's for an undisclosed injury. However, the Saints knew what was going on there. They kept him out. They didn't want to force it. They didn't want to force him to get out on the field and get hurt. But he comes into a cornerback room where your top 3 are Marshawn Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, and Bradley Roby. So for Anthony Johnson, when you have the production he does, it's intriguing. It's certainly tantalizing. However, it's not enough to earn you a roster spot just given. Just for free. You have some other talent in the cornerback room, and I do believe that Anthony Johnson could find himself on the practice squad if he keeps dealing with these injuries. So another PUP list player, a tight end, Miller Forrestall. The injury, undisclosed. He's more likely a practice squad guy. That's not news. That's kind of what he's been pretty much his whole entire NFL career. On the Browns practice squad, didn't do too much in 2022. 4 games played, 1 target. He signed with the Saints in free agency back in January as pretty much a depth piece, practice squad body. I mean, the depth chart for the Saints right now, for the tight end room, you have Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill, Lucas Kroll. Taysom Hill, sure, he's not a tight end. He kind of does everything. He's just a football player. But, for a guy like Miller Forrestall, I do believe that he will be a practice squad guy. But, injuries nonetheless, not the best thing to have when you're in the NFL. All right, and then in terms of the biggest roster news, I was actually pretty shocked. I actually I got the push notification on my phone for Billy Price getting released, and I literally had to take a triple take to my phone and be like, wait, like he was released. He wasn't just hurt. Like what? Hold on. What? I had to make sure that I wasn't, overly served and make sure that it was correct. But he was released with a non-football injury designation. It's unclear as to what the injury was. He signed after a minicamp tryout in June, and I was pretty surprised that the 2018 number 21 overall pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, that he was cut. Because Eric McCoy and Alex Filstrom, who is a UDFA, are your only two centers on the roster. And Eric McCoy's great, don't get me wrong, but he's missed some time due to injury the past couple seasons. So I found it interesting that the Saints went ahead and released Billy Price. I wish him the best, hope for him to have a successful career elsewhere. Obviously, you never want to see somebody get fired or lose their job, but, at the end of the day, it's a business, and you got to do what you got to do. So, Saints fans, be honest with me. Which injury are you most worried about? Now, I wouldn't blame you for saying A.T. Perry, Kendre Miller. However, for me, I think Nick Salvideri is one that's a little bit concerning to me, especially a guy in the trenches. You can't really have these leg injuries linger long term because they just start adding up, and that's a physical position. So a little bit worried about Salvideri. However, I do trust that he will be able to shake things out, and the Saints staff will be able to get him healthy. So Saints fans, let me know in the comment section. All right, so we also have some jerseys available for you. We are going to be getting into Derek Carr and Chris Olave. So we're going to be highlighting their jerseys. We got men's, we got women's, we got any size you want, we got any color you want. You want the throwbacks, you want the color rush, you want you want it, we got it. But where you can get it, chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. That link will be available for you in the comment section and in the description of today's video. Go get yourself geared up and swagged out before the football season starts with our link down below. All right, so let's finish up today's show talking about Derek Carr and what Chris Olave had to say on Richard Sherman's podcast, because he was praising his new quarterback. And here's what he had to say whenever he was asked about the chemistry being built with Derek Carr. Said, oh, hell yeah. We've been brewing. We've been cooking up. I feel like it's just getting better and better. Just being on the field together, getting consistent. That's how everybody builds chemistry. It's just getting those reps and continuous repetition. And I couldn't agree more. When you have a new quarterback coming in and it's a very unique situation where a young wide receiver that the franchise bought into very early on, invested very early on, and invested a lot to get him. You also have a quarterback that you didn't necessarily have them paired up with each other off the jump. So at OTA's minicamp, they were getting to work. And then in this picture, outside of that, before they'd even started, you see Chris Olave in the braids. I mean, that's pretty cool. But they were out there doing work at the Saints practice facility, getting things going, working on the communication, working on understanding each other's play style and how they can work together the best way possible. And even more from Chris Olave on Derek Carr, I really like what he said here. I feel like we all know what he can do on the field. And he's talking about Derek Carr there. But he helps me a lot off the field too. Just the leader he is. Just his vibes he comes with. I feel like he always makes a young player better. So I'm excited to get to play with him. And this is exactly what I want to hear out of Chris Olave. I mean, Olave is a guy who, let's call it how it is. He is the future of this Saints offense in terms of the wide receiver room. Sure, Michael Thomas can have another handful of good seasons, but he's never going to quite get back to what he once was. Even if he can get up to that production, Chris Olave is much younger. You're not going to pay Michael Thomas over the next, 5-10 years. You're just going to keep kind of, you see what I'm saying? Like, Olave is the future of this offense. And if you have a guy who's already getting a ton of work, has a ton of respect on and off the field for a quarterback like Derek Carr, I think it makes a ton of sense. And that's exactly why I love hearing this out of Chris Olave. And Olave is a very bona fide winner. He is just a guy who knows how to do it. He was a very proven winner is what I was trying to say. Excuse me. But yeah, he's a bona fide winner who now has a real quarterback to work with. And when you talk about Carr versus Andy Dalton, I mean, it's night and day. Andy Dalton, sure, he's fine. He's not a terrible quarterback. He got the job done enough, I guess. But Derek Carr has been starting a lot more recently. He's been doing a lot better recently. And I truly do believe he is a better talent right now in terms of where they are both at in their respective careers. And I really like this coming from Chris Olave. He said, man, I'm just trying to win. Last year was tough for me. I've never lost that much in my life. That shit took a toll on me. I can't. That don't sit right with me. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself, help my teammates, help them be better, and help us win and get to the playoffs. And this is actually very, very true because Chris Olave, since starting varsity football, has only lost 17 games. And last year alone, he lost 10. So that is exactly why I like hearing about this. Derek Carr has over 30 game-winning drives in his career. He knows how to win down the stretch. And sure, the playoff success isn't there. But let's call it how it is. He hasn't been on a team that can make the postseason because they're in a tough division, and they have had more distractions than any other team, maybe outside of the Commanders, in the past handful of years. So I love this coming from Chris Olave. I'm just so pumped. Olave and Derek Carr, it's going to be a match made in heaven. It's going to be like a Cafe Du Monde and some chocolate milk or some black coffee. I mean, it's just going to be absolutely incredible. So let me know, Saints fans, how many touchdowns do you think Derek Carr will throw to Chris Olave in 2023? I'm thinking Olave is going to get upwards of 10 to 15 touchdowns. I'd love for him to do that because that means score a lot of points, hopefully win a lot of damn games. But Saints fans, I hope you enjoyed today's content. Thank you guys for tuning in no matter where you are or how you tuned in. I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.